live earlier. Um, I was just talking a little bit about social media and everything like that, and how I would sort of conclude all that with if everything, if all social media went offline tomorrow and it was no longer available, it's good to remember what would that mean for our lives personally, case by case basis. For 5 days, I was mentioning when I got off of it, how when I was coming into the social sphere with my friends and speaking about, like, I would overhear other conversations, or people would ask me directly, uh, people who sometimes I didn't even, they really don't know anything about me, but who knows? Um, Maybe they see the color of my skin and maybe they assume, oh, they know something about, Drake, or so, which is like, obviously, I've talked about how much Lil Wayne and stuff is an influence, or influenced me as a younger person, and how that wasn't always the best thing. I'm saying all that because, like, these are all aspects of social media. It's these characters and these portraits of people. So, anyway, while I was talking about that, my friend John came through, got me some food, which was a huge help. It's super late. I'm about to help out and do some work. And on the way here, the other day on the way into town, um, my sedan, it kind of messed up, like the engine, whatever. So, like, cool, I got the Trooper, 1987. We ended up doing an oil change on that, like, all night. It's all good. Like, I love that vehicle. I'm gonna make that thing work. Don't worry. I am going to make it, like always, I'm gonna make it work. It works, but I'm gonna make it really work. And so, by the grace of God, on the way here, first of all, I stopped at the gas station. There's a bunch of Mormon missionaries, and they were wanting to talk. I talked to them for a minute, but it was actually because I was trying to. Okay, so the other night we did an oil change on the Trooper to get it ready. I was trying to get the oil filter out. We couldn't get it out yet, but I'm gonna get that out soon. Um, that was gonna be the goal for today, but uh, last night on the way home, I noticed the heat went out immediately. And I'm like, yo, I bet the fan somehow went out. And all these, like, lights lit up. All right, come to find out, today when I left, I went to the gas station. That's where I saw the Mormon missionaries. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get a little bit of gas, come here to town. Uh, I decided to look under the hood. Turns out, um, the belt had come off of the pulley. So then I'm like, okay, shoot. Let me replace, or no, so the belt was still hanging. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna just try to put it back on there. So, like, and that's not easy. It's got a lot of tension. I didn't have the tool to, like, anyway. So I get the belt back on there, like on the pulley, but um, when I went to do that, uh, I started it back up. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get some gas. It seemed like it, because I actually got it on there. Like, this will be cool. I pull up to the gas pump. The Mormon dudes, they walk up, and I'm always, of course, I want to talk about God, and so as he walks up, though, I look on the ground, and the belt is sitting there. It is snapped off. I'm like, dang. So I end up talking to them for a little bit, and it was three of them standing in front of me. And the attendant who was inside the convenience store gas station, he sees like these three guys standing in front of me, and I'm just standing there like, and he walks out. He's like, "Yo, is it all good over here?" And when he walked up, I was kind of telling them like, "Yo, this is the operating system that my this is the OS that my hardware is running." Um, and so I was just kind of telling, like, in terms of spirituality and religion or whatever it may be, believing in God ultimately. Um, and so, yeah, when I left there, I realized like the fan wasn't turning on, but I had to make it here to town. Because, see, if I didn't, like, yeah, this is where my opportunities are at. This is where I make my money. And so, once I got when I was getting closer to town, like, let's say 4 miles out, 3 miles out, let's say, more like 5 minutes out, I'm like, yo, do I have lights? Like, I'm looking the lights, or like barely lighting the way. I was like, oh shoot, man. And basically I got right into town, and then the car cut out, the battery. And of course it makes sense now, okay, the alternator, da da da. But anyway, before I left, I did ask God for protection, for guidance. And so when my friend came here, and I'm documenting this because this is a small one, and I call these times miraculous. I know that there are miracles and all kinds of stuff that happen, but in my personal life, right, I understand that every single day I'm not eaten alive by you know life, or every day I survive, every day I wake up, literally every day that I have my cat, every day that I have some any day that I have some food, some water, some warmth, some shelter, transportation. Like, that's already so many things, and those are essentially the basics. Any day that I have any of those luxuries is truly a miracle, because this isn't guaranteed to us. Like, yes, we're in America here, but we have to remember, and I'm not saying that the rest of the world is like, in some tiny village or anything. I'm just saying that throughout the entire world, whether it's a humongous city, whether it's a small place, people are living in poverty right across the street. I mean, right around here, everywhere. People are living in states of dismay, and a lot of it is through drugs as well, unfortunately. And of course, like, I've been there pretty heavily, like, not just a little bit. And so any day that it takes a lot to get through pain. Like, we've talked about the spiritual pain, emotional pain, all of this. It takes a lot to get through that. And so, sometimes on the way, right? Like, let's say you break your leg, all right? Now, sometimes they actually have to knock you back out to reset your leg. Sometimes they have to give you pain medication, because if you've ever experienced that feeling of, let's say, a fractured knee. In 2020, I fractured my knee. I'll tell that story sometime, but it'll lead me to another point about this whole healthcare industry and about the the healthcare stuff and everything that's been going on lately with the CEOs and stuff. To me, I've I've went through some stuff with that. So uh, but would it ever lead me to like do anything crazy? I don't think that's how we should be living. I think that's the number one thing that God really says is like, you know, leave it to him in that sense. But anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. But any of these days, they're really miracles that we survive. So my point is, uh, every day one of these kind of things happen. Now I've had days where it's almost unbelievable. If you think about even just what last year was uh, for my journey, it was the most difficult chapter ever of my journey. It was, I mean, it was the real first time of survival mode. And those who were nearby, placed themselves nearby, uh, are those who are in my life right now. And I am, and I have a teacher who I gained out of that. I have close friends I gained out of that. I have uh, completely new perspective on business and how to operate and the people I associate with and how to say no and who to say yes to. So I learned a lot that I don't think I could have learned without any of those experiences. Same thing as with tonight. Uh, in the past, I would have looked at a day like today, and I'm not gonna lie, I would have been freaking out. I would have been like, why did this happen and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, without these, let's call them tests, without these, it's always a risk to reward. Anytime you leave your house, anytime you wake up, it's a risk. So if we're able to get through these scenarios, we took the risk, and then the reward will come. It really will. There's a reason. And as we know, following God is where a lot of that reward comes from. And so one of the things I was talking to those Mormon missionaries about out there was that, ultimately you follow God and you ask just, God, help me get through this specific thing, help me get there. The way God answers is rarely how we are in our human mind expecting to get an answer. But the only way we can hear it is by disconnecting from all of the noise. And so just observe in your own life every day, where does that noise come from? And that's what led me to speak about social media and stuff earlier. But I'll try to document the miracles every day of the day. And so today I will say, my friend coming through with some grub, coming through, unprompted, to help out with the belt, help putting it on tomorrow. And that would be pretty expensive if I took it to the shop. And not to mention when I, getting the Chrysler into town and then getting the Trooper ready. Like, it's essentially as soon as I got paid, it was gone. And then I was expecting that, because I was, right now is just a time where right now the amount I want to work and the amount I want to earn through doing work in that sense outside of my business is just enough to have some water, food, shelter, food for my cat, of course, and then for Ray Ray, and then the rest of the time is used to sort of detoxify right now and to get closer to God, because I know I have a mission here on earth, and I know that God will guide me toward it. My birthday is on January the 30th. I'll be 34. And at that point, I will be ready to, there's no more time for excuses, or I don't think I've given too many, but I know in the past, before last year, I know I made excuses to myself for substance use, for whatever it may be. But through the mentors in my life, I've been able to have just a little bit of insight on what I need to like squeeze through that little gap to make everything a much wider field of view. And I want to having that wider field of view wouldn't mean anything without having to squeeze through the difficult part. If it did, then anybody looking through that gap could say, oh, okay, yeah, that's all. But nah, there's a lot to be said for squeezing through that gap, that survival mode, and making it to the other side, seeing what the boundaries even look like, and whether there are any here or there, and seeing how actually open the world is to us, and trusting God to take us on the straight path through it. And this year, that's what is going to define this year for me. Aside from the fact that last year was my first year of, I would say, celibacy since, basically since I've become an adult. I plan to keep that going until, I'm ready, as spiritually ready as I can be. And I really want to connect with an audience here who can relate. And then I do have interviews also already recorded with a friend who is a Green Beret. I have an interview recorded with a friend who's a police officer. I have an interview recorded with a local business owner. So I have this content, and I want to get it released. I just want to find the right audience. And as I'm building that, I'm just going to take y'all through this journey with me. So that's the reason I'm doing all this. So it's to take y'all through the journey so that we can look back in 3 to 5 years and we'll say that's where it started. And it will be all good things. Buy my mom a house type of things, business running at a high level, possibly even being on a public exchange with a stock ticker, and learning every day how to become closer to God and how to heal through that. So today's miracle, and there's no telling what the rest of what tomorrow holds. So stay tuned. I'll come back and we'll catch back up. But for now, Botana Man, I'm signing out. I will be updating on the trooper as well tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. So I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate any support on the videos as well. Just watching them, just liking it, and any prayers you keep me in. That's what's most important, and praying for yourself.